Welcome to the Timeless Marketing Podcast with Brian Kurtz, your connection to insights from some of the top direct response marketing minds on the planet.
Hey, it's Brian Kurtz here, host of the Timeless Marketing Podcast. Today's episode is a clip from one of the 2-hour calls inside Titan's Accelerator, my private mentorship program for direct response marketers. Before we get to that, I have one question for you. Do you have a marketing insurance policy? If you don't, you need one. And that's why I created Titan's Accelerator, which is one of the most giving communities and serves as the de facto board of advisors and marketing insurance policy for over 250 of the best and brightest direct response marketers, copywriters, media buyers, marketing agencies, senior executives, anyone in direct response marketing who is committed to growing and scaling their business. The bottom line, you don't have to grow your business alone. And you don't need to spend tens of thousands of dollars either. Titan's Accelerator is 1/10 of the price of most groups of its kind. I know because I hosted a group that was over $20,000 a year. If you want to see how Titan's Accelerator can help you grow and scale your specific business, go to briankurtz.net/help. That's BRIANKURTZ.net/help. And with a private membership, you'll receive access to the full presentation from today's episode, along with the Q&A and discussion that followed. As an added bonus, you'll receive access to a vault filled with many more private calls just like this one. Again, if you want to see if Titan's Accelerator is a fit for you with no obligation, go to briankurtz.net/help. That's BRIANKURTZ.net/help. And feel free to email me directly. I respond to every email with questions about this episode or just to say hi at brian@briankurtz.net. Now on to today's episode.
And so I'll let Perry take over from here, but I would just say and I'll chime in also, but Shane, I think that I think it's really important to find out the people that you want to partner with the most, what you can contribute to them first. Perry, take it away.
So I think there's a continuum. And on one extreme, you have the hit and run JV deal. And then on the opposite end of that continuum is a symbiotic relationship. And the definition of a symbiotic relationship is you're so interdependent that if they separate the two of you, you both die. Okay. And so, So you need to let the clutch out on this. Usually you can test drive one of these things as a JV before you get in bed with them. And then you also have the issue of, how is the money split up? And, that's very, very different depending on, there's some situations where your JV partner, let's say that you're the supplier of the product being sold and they are marketing it. There are some situations where you get 10%, and that's fair. And there's other situations where you get 90%, and that's fair. And it's only determined by what's going to make everybody happy and who's really delivering the value, which is not always obvious at the beginning. Because sometimes somebody's delivering the crack cocaine and that appears to be the most valuable thing, but then somebody else is delivering the philosophy, and that's why people stick around.
Right.
So.
Yeah. I also, it's a funny thing because I think either side, if you're looking for a windfall every time, that's going to be a very bad situation. And you're so right about, everything is negotiable. Everything is, and you have to always think in lifetime value. Like if you're supplying a product, for instance, and taking 10%, but you have 3 other products in the pipeline and you're getting the names, 10%, you may not even take 10%. You'll have, so that kind of thing. And if you're a one-shot product and you don't have any marketing availability, then you might need more. And then the marketer is supplying something that they didn't want in the first place. They're buying it from you. That's gold to them, because they, especially like in COVID, if I have one of my mastermind members is a chiropractor. He can't see patients, although he might be able to see patients under my situation that I shared with Philip. But if he can't see patients, he's going to drop ship supplements. He's going to drop ship a laser. And he can do that with somebody who's got a product that he would just pay whatever, just because he's able to keep in touch with all of his patients. So it's a really good point that the deal it's not a one size fits all by any means. So Perry, what do you want to do first? You want to do, or if anybody has a question about that, I don't know.
Well, so I had a conversation yesterday with Bob Rigneris, and he had a great phrase, which was "serving is selling." And Bob is he's a direct response veteran, and he's done all kinds of things. And his business in the last 3 years is called Feed Stories, and they do video, push it into Facebook feeds. They get people's stories really nailed down, and then they manage Facebook traffic and stuff like that. And Bob, in the last month, Bob has been besieged with business. Okay, it's like all these people that were on the fence suddenly are pulling the trigger. Which is kind of the opposite of what you would assume. And by the way, I just have to say, you can't assume you know anything right now. Like it's all like a big reset button just got punched. And there might be a few really obvious things, like you can't go to a restaurant right now. Okay, but other than that, like, you don't know what you don't know. It's a big blank canvas. And what, like, if I were to offer a theory about like what's up with Bob, the world just switched as of roughly March 15 from carrot to stick. And the world used to be about, hey, if you do all this stuff, you get the cherry on the sundae, and you can make $1 million. And all of a sudden, how am I going to stay alive? And I think people went from doing business with the person who has the slickest sales pitch to doing business with the person that they trust. And those are two completely different people, okay? And this is the time when the over-deliver Brian Kurtz approach suddenly starts paying off big time, okay? I had a guy sign up for a program that we offered a few weeks ago called Slingshot Recovery, and it's basically like a kind of like an 80-20 chaos crash course. And so you got a big discount if you signed up in Renaissance Club. And so we have this email that goes out that people reply back. It goes right to my assistant, and it says, "Why did you join Renaissance Club?" And there was a guy, he said, "Hi, I live in Australia. I'm in the trade show business, which is completely decimated for the foreseeable future. I have no visible income coming in. I'm down to my last $1,500. And while I read 2 of Perry's books, I'm like, I can trust this guy." Well, if a guy's down to his last $1,500 and he's giving you probably $300 was the amount, with $100 more next month, that requires a lot of trust. And I have a member, speaking of trade shows, I have another client who's in the trade show business. They sell software that people use to process trade show leads and stuff like that. And like, well, there ain't going to be no trade shows anytime soon, like that whole thing. And also notice, like if somebody came up with like a vaccine or something tomorrow morning, a catering business or a restaurant could be open in 48 hours, right? They could just probably bounce right back. A trade show, not so fast, right? So there are fast reset businesses and there are slow reset business. So he's in a business that's dead and it's slow reset. So this is not good. And so he's like, what do I do? And I said, all right, well, here's the one thing that you can be certain of is there's a lot more bleeding necks now than there was 2 months ago. And bleeding neck being like, other than having the money, it's the most important criteria that causes a sale to be made, is if blood is squirting out of their aorta and splattering on the ceiling, they'll pay any amount of money to slap a Band-Aid on that thing and not bleed to death, okay? Which is where a lot of people are. And I said, so you're not in the trade show business, you are in the sales conversion business, okay? And your customers who thought they were going to go to a trade show in May or have a booth or whatever, they're now at home, but they still have to hit their numbers. So here's what you need to do. Here's what we know. Because we've been working, like I know this guy, he would be like one of your top guys, Brian, okay? Just like, I said, more about sales funnels and sales processes and sales follow-up and sales conversion than 98 or 99% of your customers. So what do? You pick up the phone and you just call them and you go, talk to me. What's going on right now? And just listen. Right? Like you have some relationship with them. Like they have API calls. You have API calls into their system. You're sending them data and stuff. Okay. So like you at least know their name, even if you don't have a relationship with them. Talk to, I have hundreds of customers who have sales processes. Maybe I know somebody, maybe I can help. I don't even know what you need, what's going on with you. Talk to me. And, if the guy's like sitting at home and he used to have his office and now his kids are running around downstairs and he's trying to be a national sales manager and he's got to meet his numbers and nothing's going on and whatever, then probably, I said 80% of these guys, there's a way that everything's supposed to work. When they had the trade show, the leads are supposed to go into this bucket and go to this person, and the brochures are supposed to be mailed out, and the emails are supposed to go out, and the marketing person and the salespeople are supposed to call them, and the distributors are supposed to get the lead and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, I know that's supposed to happen, but 80% of the time it's not happening. You're going to get in there and fix it like, oh, well, you had a trade show in January and you got all these leads and oh my goodness, look at that. Nobody's called any of them, right? And like you marshal their forces. And I said, now here's the thing I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you sitting here on this Zoom call what your business model is and exactly how you're going to get paid for that. I don't know. Okay. What I do know is they have a bleeding neck and you know something they don't. And you have Band-Aids that they don't have. So like, don't run away from the chaos, run into the chaos. And just go start solving problems. And this is what Bob Rigneris means by serving is selling. Because if you spend an hour or 2 hours with that guy and you work all this through, you are in the most trusted list. That is the exhibit A of over deliver. It's like, wow, I thought these guys were just like, put this app on our iPad. My goodness, these people are geniuses. maybe they're hiring you for several $1,000s a day to straighten out their sales team, or maybe they want you to be their sales team. I just fired 6 of my sales guys. I don't even know what I'm going to do. Can I hire you? Okay, sure. Like, I don't know. This is how you have to think. Here's another metaphor that I found very, very useful. I think it's actually very true. So the way the world was 2 months ago was you're in the parking lot of a Walmart, and it's paved for acres, right? And you're walking around with a little bag of seeds, and you're going, are there any cracks in the sidewalk that I could stick a seed in and it might grow, that there's not already a big weed, growing out of it? And maybe you were pulling out weeds so you could stick a seed in there and then hope that it would grow. Well, what happened in the middle of March was there was a big, giant, like 8.5 Richter scale earthquake. And now there's a 100-foot canyon in the parking lot, and it's 900 feet deep. And there's all the soil you could ever want with no weeds growing in it. Okay? Because the world has fractured. Okay? And so in January, I wrote a series of blog posts. I said, these are my predictions for 2020 to 2029. I predicted all these things. And the very last one, like the countdown, the one at the end, number 1 was, this is the agility decade. Okay. Now, that means a lot of things. Okay. One thing and it just, bam, totally true as of middle of March, right? Everything, all the rules are different. Everything's so it's like you got to pivot fast. One of my longtime clients, David Nadler, he coined a great term which I love: minimum viable pivot. Like, what is the least amount of complete re-engineering that will make your business work? Well, so here's where we're at, is that the earthquake has happened. The roof of the Walmart is caved in. I mean, at least the sports section is caved in. Maybe they're still selling clothes somewhere else, but the bicycle and the baseball gloves and the footballs are all, ain't no sporting events at all. They moved the food section around so you can still buy food, and there's still people coming there. And they built little bridges. They built little catwalks over the 900-foot crevice so that people wouldn't fall in on their way in, right? And they're like, okay, and like the whole world is completely turned around. Okay, so bureaucracies. Okay, I think one of the things that is going to be more and more and more obvious in the next month, 2 months, 3 months is the absolute failure of the institutions and systems and bureaucracies that were supposed to be taking care of us. Okay, so the World Health Organization pretending Taiwan doesn't even exist. Okay, when Taiwan is the only country that's doing fine. Okay, now somebody go figure that out, right? Now, I happen to know it's because Taiwan officially doesn't exist because China, is insisting that Taiwan doesn't exist. It's like a dysfunctional family where, well, you know what China is? And I know China. I've been there I probably spent 2 months of my life living in China in the last 20 years. China is the country where grandpa molested the granddaughter and it never happened. No, that didn't. No, grandpa is great. Grandpa is awesome. We have posters of grandpa. We sing songs about grandpa. Okay, grandpa is a child molester, okay? But, and we're going to, everybody's going to have Thanksgiving dinner and nobody's going to talk about it. Okay, so that's China. Okay, so anyway, so you're going to see like that, like the World Health Organization not doing its job. I think the college, I think the college education bubble just burst. It's not obvious yet, but I think that gig is over. Okay, that's a whole other conversation. And so, like, these bureaucracies, like, they can't move fast, and the people that run them, they're not actual, like, real problem solvers. They're bureaucrats. Okay, what has happened is now the whole game is what agile person can rush in and solve a problem. Now, this morning, I woke up at like 4 o'clock and my brain switched on. I can't imagine that happens to any of the rest of you. And I couldn't sleep for a couple hours. And I connected a dot. Okay. And I remembered this book, Democracy in America by Alexis de Tocqueville. I read it in college. It's one of the most brilliant books ever. Okay. So here's the story behind this book. 1835. United States is 50 years old. Everybody in Europe is talking about the United States. It's all anybody's talking about. Hey, you see what's going on over there? Like nonstop. Okay. And the aristocrats are scared shitless. Okay. And so the French send their smartest guy to America and they go over there and tell us what is going on. And so Alexis de Tocqueville goes and he spends a few years living in America and he writes this book and he says, let me explain America. Okay. And like you go chapter by chapter by chapter, this guy, he nails it. And even 170 years later, he's still got it right. He nails American culture. Now, there's this interesting chapter, and it's called Why Democratic Nations Are Naturally Desirous of Peace and Democratic Armies Desirous of War. Okay, now this is really interesting. And before I explain this, I want to like connect a dot for you. We're in war. Okay, this is a wartime season. We're not in peace anymore. We're in war. We're in war with a virus, but it's still war. Okay, and a lot, like, anybody notice how similar this is to 9/11? That was war. In fact, it started the Afghanistan war and the Iraqi war. Okay, there could be wars started over this. Wouldn't be surprised. Okay, so this is war. So here's what he says. He says, in peacetime, the military is the fastest place to nowhere, ever. Okay? Like, you're going to get your job and, like, you're going to march or go to, boot camp or whatever, and there's nothing going on. Okay? And all the smart guys, Democracy in America, Alexis de Tocqueville, all the smart guys are in commerce, right? They're making their fortune building factories and farms. Gals, yes, sorry, yes, women, everybody. Everybody's making their money in commerce. When war comes, the battle line, the military becomes the fastest path to advancement. So now that it's war, you have to ask, okay, so what's the military here and now? Well, the military is like whatever protects people from their life caving in. It's whatever protects people from the enemy, which could be COVID masks. It could be doctors and nurses. It could be anybody who can figure out how to save your business. Anybody who could figure out how this government loan thing is going to work out, or, anybody who figure out how to turn a brick and mortar into a virtual, anything like that. That's the military. Okay. And so the military, again, metaphorically, is now where the action is. Okay. And all of the smart people, it takes a while. Like, it doesn't happen overnight, but pretty soon all the smart people figure out, dude, like, this is where the action is. This is where the advancement is. Man, like, if I want to get rich and famous, like, this is where you do it. Okay. And so you got to understand that that's agility. That's exhibit A of agility. Like I've had several conversations in the last few weeks. They're like, dude, put a fork in it. It's over. Get out. Don't save the people, run out of the burning building, and don't look back. This is Sodom and Gomorrah. If you turn around, you get turned into a pillar of salt, like that lady, okay? Like, it's over. Scorched earth, nuked, detonated, done, right? That life is over. Mourn it, grieve it, cry, and then machine gun the wreckage, right? Which is like, the airplane crash, so you machine gun all the instruments so that the foreign intelligence can't, like, dissect the airplane and listen to the tapes and stuff, right? And you move on, like next, go find somebody who's making COVID masks and help them or whatever. Okay. So I've had several conversations like that. Like, you're like, normal gone, normal dead, normal over. You need to, like, go do this. And so like, that's what you got to do. And there's, if you can let go of whatever you thought you were doing before and move into solve the bleeding neck, stay ahead of the curve, see around the corner. Most people are only thinking like 2 days ahead, and you're thinking weeks and months ahead. Then you can pivot. And I think there are going to be tremendous opportunities for advancement, especially if you over deliver and if you understand that serving is selling. Because if you're valuable, they're going to figure out how to keep you around.
Thanks for listening to the Timeless Marketing Podcast with Brian Kurtz. Visit briankurtz.net and click podcast at the top of the page for a full transcript and show notes. If you're interested in working with Brian personally inside of Titans Accelerator, go to briankurtz.net/help to see how Titans can help you grow and scale your business. That's briankurtz.net/help.